Alright, for purposes of starting, the real reason that you're all here, leading off, and how this will work, I should say, the fine folks here from the Coles Highland House are going to come around and clear the main course dishes. So we're not stopping. They're going to then quietly come around, give you your dessert, put coffee pots on the table, because Mr. and Mrs. Doherty didn't raise any dumb children, because once we stop to give out dessert, it's hard to get the group back. That's another half hour down the drain. So, to lead us off, I'd like to introduce, and you're going to hear a lot about him a little later on, to lead off the introduction of the 1986 Washingtonville 3,200 meter relay, their coach, Artie Jessup.
I have the honor to introduce the team selected by the committee for this year's induction, the 1986 Washingtonville 3,200 meter relay team of Pat Ferrigno, Jerry Roeder, Victor Nieves, and Jon Hess. I was their outdoor coach from 1983 to 86. This team, 32 years ago, dominated this relay for 4 years. And their sectional record stood for another 15 years. Coach Mike White got them interested with the Bowie Road Drivers in 1982. And we took 2 soccer players, a baseball pitcher and a football player, and saw them develop into a team that eventually became the national indoor champions and the New York State indoor and outdoor champions in 1986. Under tutelages of Tony Martelli, Coach Mike White, and myself, and registered the fastest indoor time in the United States in 1986. I hope that you will bear with me, this 75-year-old retired coach, as I reminisce about one of his greatest teams ever in Section 9 history. This is my last hurrah as a coach. And I'm going to speak longer than the 3 minutes I'm allowed. I'm introducing 4 individuals so I get more time. Researching and rereading press clippings about their accomplishments made me realize how good this team was at that time. As their coach, I didn't even realize it. One of the biggest problems was persuading basically 4 sprinters into middle distance runners. I can remember them saying, "Coach, 200 meters is one thing, but 2 400 meters in one race? No way." But their times each season dropped and their success was phenomenal in county, sectional, state, and national competition. Another problem we had was determining who would race what leg of the race. I'm only saying this because we had a tough time doing this. Which one would take on the opening 800 meters of the relay with all the pushing, the jostling, and shoving at the start, and still get us the lead or keep us in contention? You had to be tough. Which one could handle the second leg if they are not in the lead, or if they're in the lead after the first handoff to keep it, or to get the lead if we needed it? Then you needed a third leg. You can count on them to hold the lead, be very determined and consistent in this leg, and bring the baton home to the anchor. Then the anchor leg has to be your top runner, and a runner that is not afraid to go out and run scared, as I call it, but also a person who does not like to lose. Our last problem was Lou Hall and the Monroe-Woodbury 3,200 meter relay team that we had to beat to make it to the States. And their great middle long distance runner, John Troutman, who was an inductee last year, who would be the anchor on their team at the sectionals. Each runner knew they had to do their part, so our anchor had a big enough lead to hold off Jon. I always felt a 3 or 4 second lead was sufficient, but Troutman was Troutman, and you never know what can happen. It was 1985 when our coaching staff realized we had the potential of an exceptional relay team. They placed 6th in the Eastern States meet and 4th in the New York State meet, but put their names on the map as 4 juniors captured 2nd place at the Nationals at Princeton University after being seeded 8th. Then came their 2nd place finish at the 1985 New York State Outdoor Meet with an unbelievable improvement time of 7:46.1 in Prospect Heights. This relay race is still considered one of the fastest and most competitive 3,200 meter relay races in the state's history, as 5 teams ran 7:50 or faster. I repeat to you, 5 teams ran 7:50 or better in that race. Their senior year, 1986, started off by capturing the New York State indoor title at the Carrier Dome in Syracuse on its slow track. But it was the fastest time in the nation at the time. But then we lost the Eastern States title to Trenton 2 nights later. But the Nationals were next at the slow Yale University indoor 200 meter track, and Trenton was the favorite. The Washies, Washingtonville, were out to improve over their 2nd place at the Nationals the year before and get revenge over Trenton. Pat opened up in a 1:59.8, I'm just going to read these times, but was boxed in and handed off 2nd to Bishop Lachlan with Trenton right there. Jerry ran his leg in 1:59.1, an indoor PR, and gave us the lead. Victor also ran a PR of 1:59.1 as Trenton was right there. Jon was blown away by Trenton's anchor at the Easterns. I didn't say he was blown away, but he got beaten. And when he passed Jon on the first turn, Jon got on his shoulder for 600 meters. But Jon accelerated off the last turn into the last 100 meters and broke the Trenton man as he ran an indoor PR of 1:56.5 for the 7:54.5. Washingtonville was the national champions and lowered their fastest time in the nation and a new Section 9 indoor record. Now came the outdoor season. Here I'm going on. I know I'm going on, but I've got to talk about this. Now was the outdoor season, and participating in the prestigious Penn Relays in Philadelphia in April. To qualify, you had to be one of the 12 fastest teams in the morning trials out of 60 of the fastest qualifying teams from 15 different states and teams from Canada and Jamaica. The year before, we tried to run the 3,200 and 1,600 meter relay races, and we bombed out. Bad coaching. This time, no 1,600 meter relays, as we had our sights on medaling at Penn. We again qualified in the morning in 7:48.5 for the afternoon final. We dreamed of this race for a year. With some 35,000 fans, and I'll never forget this, watching the Wizards were a close second at the first handoff. Then Jerry handed off with a slight lead, and the crowd was sensing an upset. Someone is going to beat favored Clarendon, Jamaica. Victor took the baton and kept the lead. But was this enough of a lead to hold off the Jamaicans who had 2 fresh legs in the final? This is the greatest finish of a race I ever saw. With 300 meters to go, the 2 anchors ran stride for stride, with the fans standing and most of them shouting, "Wizards, Wizards," 35,000 fans cheering their school's name as they sensed an upset. Jon ran a super anchor leg, and we got edged out at the finish line. but Watsonville was then dubbed the #1 relay team in all of the United States, continental United States. The team ended their running careers in June by capturing their first New York State Outdoor Championship at Baldwinsville Track, winning by over 6 seconds in the state meet in their last relay race, and finally got that outdoor state title. It is my honor to give you the 1986 New York State Indoor 3,200 meter relay champions, the 1986 National Indoor 3,200 meter relay champions, and the 1986 New York Outdoor champions. First, Pat Ferrigno, come on up. Now the owner and senior advisor of Ferrigno Financial of Watsonville and resides in Campbell Hall, New York. Second, Jerry Roeder. Assistant Dean and Director of Residence Life at Western New England University in Massachusetts and resides in East Long Meadow, Massachusetts. Third was Victor Nieves. Senior Manager of Global Client Relationships in Jersey City, now resides in Monroe Township in New Jersey. And fourth, Jon Hess. President at Prosthetic and Orthotic Design in Middletown and now lives in Monroe. Fellas, the floor is yours, but not too long.
Thank you for the introduction, Coach. Today's a very special day, and I feel privileged to be here. First, I want to thank the selection committee for choosing us, considering our accomplishments worthy of being inducted. It means a lot. I'm humbled to actually be standing up here in front of everybody. Thank you. Mom and Dad, thank you for everything. All the support and encouragement that you gave me all along. It means a lot. And Dad being there every meet, no matter where it was, what time, made a big difference. Absolutely. And the coaches, Coach Martelli, and Coach White, and of course, Coach Jessup. In different ways, each of you made such a difference in my life. I owe you each more than I could ever tell you, for sure. Definitely. And John, Victor, and Jerry, especially you, Jerry, for giving up baseball for us. They were great times, and we'll never forget. Thank you, and thank everybody.
Yeah, I got a few notes. Okay. So Coach Jessup told me and the guys that we had to keep our split times for the speeches under 60 seconds. That's going to be kind of tough. Honestly, I'm not sure. I want to go out strong with the speech. I want to run hard, but I'm not sure I can finish my leg in under 2 minutes. First of all, I want to thank God for good health. My parents for passing on good genes. My siblings for sharing those genes with me. I want to thank my oldest sister, who led the way, and I think kind of created the Roeder track legacy of Washingtonville. I want to thank my closest sister, Vicki, who in my freshman year challenged me as a baseball player. She said that I couldn't beat her in a 1-mile run out to the Grange and back. She was right. She kind of blew me away, and it woke me up that I had to get a little bit more serious about doing my run. So thank you for that. I want to thank you, the friends of Section 9 Track and Field, the committee. Truly, this is an honor. Thank you for the recognition and letting me relive a little of my glory days with these fine men up here. I feel 32 years younger today, with the same race day jitters we had on some of those special occasions. Only I'm 30 pounds heavier and I'm mourning the loss of my fast twitch muscle fibers. Thank you, Coach Jessup, Martelli, and Coach White, for your unending support and encouragement. The impact that you made on us and so many other countless athletes at Washingtonville, it goes on and on. Thank you so much. Individually, Pat, Vic, John, and I, we were pretty good, but you brought us together and made us better as a team. I want to say thank you to Pat, Victor, and John. Honestly, I feel lucky to be among you. I was kind of late to the team and just trying to keep up with you, but you welcomed me to the team nonetheless. Thank you for sharing the baton with me, and thank you for all the memories. Go Wizards.
All right, I'm still using paper, but lots of thanks need to go out. I was the football player, and I stopped being a football player when a fellow inductee, Rich Beattie, hit me in a game today. So thank you, Rich. Thank you. Yes, very much. But it's not often you get to rewind, the clock. 32 years, and you live the athletic accomplishment of your life. So I'm very thankful to the committee that nominated us today. Certainly the coaches, Coach Jessup, Coach White, Coach Martelli, Coach Delmonico, extremely influenced my life in an amazing way. And of course, a big thank you to my teammates. We had a great run. We stay in touch, and we're obviously going to continue to stay in touch. We were good runners, pretty good runners, but we were great together. That includes the coaches. But what's really special to me today, in addition to being inducted, is that I get to introduce my family to all of these incredible people that touched my life in a special way and influenced me, in a way that has, enabled me to become the person I am today, the family man that I am today. My daughters meeting the coaches, my dad, my brother here, getting to meet them and catch up. So it's just fantastic that we get to have this moment together 32 years later. So thank you for that. And I'm forever grateful for the opportunity to catch up 32 years later. Thank you.
So as the anchor leg, I'm going to try and make this quick. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to personally thank my family, the families of my teammates for making the trip from near and far to be able to be with us today to share our special moment. I'd also like to thank the friends of the Section 9 Track and Field Committee for putting this great organization together and for making today's event possible. If I could speak on behalf of my teammates and my coaches, I'm very happy to be here together with these guys and the coaches again today. We will forever be connected in history by the accomplishments that we made 30 plus years ago. Next, I am truly grateful to Washingtonville High School and our coaching staff of Coach White, Coach Martelli, and Coach Jessup for their dedication, mentoring, and leadership. As I went up into my attic, as Coach Jessup asked us to do, to find old pictures and articles from this event, I came across a big stack of Coach Jessup's newsletters and very famous psych letters. Anybody that knows Coach Jessup, he had psych letters, which were devised to amp us up for our next race. I realized that he wrote these letters after a full day of teaching and coaching. After reading a bunch of them, it reminded me of just how dedicated this man was to ensuring that not only his national champion 2-mile relay team was on point, but that all of the other athletes that he coached were a priority to him as well. He wanted us all to reach our personal best, whether it was small or large. This is a trait that I hopefully have passed on to my own 2 sons, as they are both student athletes at Monterey Gray High School. Coach Jessup is well deserving of his own recognition as a highly accomplished and decorated track and field and cross-country coach for Washington High School into the Friends of Section 9 Hall of Fame for the class of 2018. So thank you, everybody.
Hey gang, that's all the time we have. Washington used up all our time. We thank everybody for coming. The inductees, we will mail you your plaques. Right? Wendy, are we ready for the raffle? Let's do that. And then we're going to get rolling. I think that took them twice as long as to run the damn race. Just kidding, Washington. $450. Not too shabby. Everybody's in. Whoop, except one. Sure, I'll take it. Yeah, why not? All right. Get your tickets ready. The winner is 2, 3, 4, 3, 0, 6, 0. All right, let's try that again. 2, 3, 4, 3, 0, 6, 0. All right, we have a winner. Come on up. There we go. Say what? Say, to me the same. Touch the tickets. There you go. Congratulations, young man. $450. All right, here we go. Next I'd like to call up. I've been to 3 Hall of Fames where this next presenter was inducted. I was at the Tappanzee Hall of Fame. I was at the Rockland County Track Hall of Fame, the Rockland County Hall of Fame. And for purposes of introducing the great David O'Connor, his coach, Gene Martin.
Use this to pull me off when you want. Just hold it. It's okay. Thanks. I'll hold it. Did anyone have trouble finding this place? I recently moved to Middletown. It took me 2 days to find it. When I got here, I forgot where I lived. My wife, my daughter says I have to read this because I can't remember things. Okay, let's see if I can find it. I've known David O'Connor since elementary school. At that time, he showed the stage that he really wanted to be a runner. He further developed his talent in middle school and in high school. And high school was a challenge for him because he had to follow in the footsteps of his brother Ralph, an accomplished runner in the Orange County in Section 9. Ralph gave his support and knowledge and was present at the 1976 state meet when Dave won his outstanding double in the mile and 2 mile. Dave has proved, even with adversities, one can achieve good results. Training at Valley Central was not conducive to success. We had no hills for cross country. We had to travel to find hills. We were not permitted to run on the roads. We had a parking lot track that they always piled the snow on, so we couldn't use it. Our running in the halls was shared with the ski team, the wrestling team, and sometimes the basketball team. Our cinder track was rarely ever ready to be used. And even during the first track meet of the year, if it wasn't for the coaches, we wouldn't know how to meet. Injuries can be an athlete's worst enemy. Dave had a share of them. He had a sprained ankle as a sophomore, a sprained ankle as a junior, and in the senior year, he had a groin injury. Yet, with rest, alternative training, he achieved wins in the county, sectional, and state meets. Unfortunately, during his last high school race, an overzealous official, sorry, thank you. I don't know if it's loud enough anyway, but I'm sorry. An overzealous official prevented him from winning his 5th state title. For those who were not there, he was knocked down 50 yards from the finish line and finished second. After high school, Dave attended Auburn University and then the University of Houston, where he achieved further success. Graduating from Houston, he was an instructor at Houston Community College and coached local high school teams with great success. His recent business venture is with Flash Results Texas, which processes wheat entries, times and places, finishes electronically. Dave now resides in Houston with his wife Jane, an accomplished runner, and his 2 sons, David and Aaron. David O'Connor was an athlete that anyone would be blessed to have as his coach. He was a winner off the track and on the track. I am proud and honored today to introduce Dave O'Connor for induction into this prestigious event. Let me sit down, you do it. You will need this.
And no one told me I was supposed to say anything. And it's kind of hard to follow up after that 2-mile relay. I guess all the time you were talking, I can sincerely say my greatest moment in high school track was when we won the state meet, the 2-mile relay. So I totally understand that friendship and bond. Coming from Houston, what I just want to say to everybody in this room, you don't know how lucky you are to live in this area and the wealth of coaching experience and ability you have. That's the one thing I realized when I got to Houston, okay? You had, all the way through high school, I always knew I had to train because I had to deal with some of the best coached athletes you could find anywhere. You knew with Loughney, his runners would be ready. You knew at our Jessup, Washingtonville, his athletes were to be ready. So in the back of your mind, you always knew you had to train as hard as possible. So I just want to say thank you. Of course, I can't finish without saying my parents, of course, were, if you don't know, every track meet were there. And I greatly missed the whole New York area, so thank you very much.
We would also like to call up the Assistant Superintendent of Schools in Valley Central, Michael Bellarosa. This is the flag that will be displayed at the school. Mike's doing good. I remember he was a coach. He's moving up in the world. Big shot, assistant superintendent here, so good stuff. One day we'll get a superintendent who was a track coach and we'll all be better off. All right, here we go. Next, I'm going to call up, you already met him. He was a charter member into this Hall of Fame. And if you take a quick peek at the book here, I see the picture of Louis and Diana in here on Diana's page. I want to know how the hell they can both look like they look now, and this is 43 years ago. I work with Louis, he gets younger every time I see him. The great Lou Hall.
It's always great to follow Gene Martin and Art
Jessup up to the podium. It makes me feel a hell of a lot younger, I'll tell you that. Gotcha. I worked with Art all day yesterday, and he's been telling everybody what a pain in the ass I was, so I'm trying to get even now. I want to congratulate all the recipients being honored here today, especially Art Jessup, Hugh Cauthers, and Tim St. Lawrence, who are not only great coaches, but also great friends. I'm not going to talk today too much about Diana's statistics. Of course, she possesses all the attributes that great athletes must have: hard work, determination, drive, effort, commitment, and character. I am here to tell you about her tenacity and her courage. They say that all great athletes make everyone around them better. But what if you are alone? You are the very first to try something new. To what degree do you have to embody all those traits an athlete must have? To do it by yourself, day after day. For most athletes, someone was the first one. For us at Monroe Woodbury, that person was Diana Halpin. When you are the first at something, it doesn't really matter if you're the best. It matters that you broke the ground so others may be able to follow you. But Diana was not only the first, she was the best. In the early 1970s, I know only about 10% of the room realize what that is, but society's attitude toward girls running discus was simply that it was too much for them. In 1972 Olympics, the longest race for women was only 1,500 meters, and that was instituted for the very first time that year. In the summer of 1972, Andy Halpin approached me and asked if his little sister could join the cross-country team. Having been involved in a lawsuit at Monroe Woodbury where a girl sued New York State to be on the boys' tennis team and won, I reluctantly said yes. After all, our boys' team was in the midst of being undefeated for 7 out of 8 years. And to be quite honest, I knew nothing, or did any of us, about coaching girls. Right, Coach? The first day of practice, this 4-foot, 10-inch, 79-pound girl shows up. Well, I won't tell you what I was thinking. She was like a mosquito at the picnic. Always coming back to you, asking this loud, in-your-face coach what she can do next. Her persistence was remarkable. And to be honest, she did not get a lot of attention that fall. But she would be there every day, ready to do whatever she could to make herself better. I really believe her mental toughness came from those long bus rides with 30 teenage boys. It is not often that we get a chance to thank someone who changed our attitude about life. But Diana changed mine. That spring, we had our annual scrimmage with Suffolk, and I matched Diana up with the best hot miler. For the young people, that's 800. In Rockland County, the race goes off, they're side by side, go around once, they come back to me, I'm standing on the track with 100 yards to go. And all of a sudden, Diana looks up to this girl, who was like 8 inches taller than her, and says, "Not today," and proceeds to win the race. I stood dumbfounded on the track and said to myself, "Holy fire truck." Now, you know I really didn't say that. I figured we have kids in the crowd today, so I better calm down a little. What the hell do I have here? From that day forward, she changed the landscape for all girls who would follow her at Monroe Woodbury. Because now, they were no longer girls who were in distance. They were simply athletes. She set a standard by which all others would be judged. She gave the Monroe Woodbury program an identity with her attitude and her actions. And without her, who knows where the direction of the Monroe Woodbury program would have gone. Our cross-country handbook says, "We thank you for the opportunity to make you a better runner and a better person." Diana turned the tables on me, and although she did not make me a better runner, she certainly has made me a better coach. I will give you a couple of stats that may be not in your program. In the 41 years after she ran at the famed Bear Mountain cross-country course, where thousands of girls have run,
she still has the 29th fastest all-time time. She was the first Section 9 girl to win gold medals in both indoor and outdoor track. She is still the only person, male or female, to win the Orange County Cross Country Championships 4 times. She will always be the D-woman to me, but to you, may I present Diana Halpin Donovan.
I did write a speech. First, I'm flattered to be here. I really am, and honored. And there have been many people that have influenced my running career, but of course, Coach Hall was the most influential. He was my first coach. He was the one that really got me going. I was first girl running, and that was not easy, but I was really shy. I just wanted to run. It was just something that I wanted to do, but he made me feel welcome, and the whole team did. The guys were great. They had no problem with a girl being on the team. I felt like I belonged. And sometimes Coach would say, Steve, you know more about running than I do. And I don't think that's really true, but he knew how to motivate. He just lit that fire in you that made you want to run. And you can see that from all the champions we've had and all the championships. But I have to thank Coach. He really made me love the sport, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And next, I have to thank my family. I have a big family, and amazing sister, and 5 awesome brothers. I have 2 wonderful boys now. I have aunts and uncles I can't even count. And I'm really thankful 3 of my aunts came today. They surprised me. I'm so happy they're here. Thank you for coming. And really, I always depended on my family. They were always there for me. But my biggest support was my dad. He's not here anymore, but he would leave work early to come watch my races. He was just, I can't tell you how much he believed in me. And when I went to college, of course, he couldn't watch my races anymore. I was too far away. I was all the way in Texas. But the national championship was in Colorado for college cross country that year. And I remember after I crossed the finish line, I heard someone say, Dee, nice race, Dee. And nobody called me Dee except Mona Woodbury, my friend at Mona Woodbury. I turned around and I'm like, Dad, what are you doing here? He said, I took a detour. He had a business trip in California, but he came out to watch me run. So that was the greatest feeling. He was there when I felt All-American. And I'm just so happy, I can't tell you. And of course, I have to thank all my teammates. It wouldn't have been a great experience without all the teammates that I had. And lastly, I gotta say, thanks to the friend of Section 9, the Hall of Fame, for putting this together. It's such a wonderful event. And thank you for taking me on this little trip back to my running past. And it was some of the best times I'll remember. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call up, for purposes of introducing, David McFadgen Jr., his coach, the retired head coach at Newburgh Free Academy, Mr. Ron Jackson.
say congratulations to all the honorees and inductees to the class of 2018. No, my name is not familiar with the coaches here. I was assistant coach with the late Tom Franklin for 13 seasons. But that was a kid that came to us by the name of Dave McFadgen. We knew of David as a basketball player on the Liberty Street playground, so basically had a vertical jump that was unknown. Just loved to play basketball. So finally, his junior year, he came out for track. And that's when we started saying, what do we do with this young man? So we decided the long jump. We started teaching David the skills of long jump. He did quite well. Towards the end of his junior year, we started teaching him the triple jump. David mastered both of those skills, and history was there. David McFadgen was well known in the track world. As we all know, David was the long jump champion in New York State as well as the triple jump champion. David attended Virginia State University. He was coached by the legendary Pete Bennett, who also was my coach at Virginia State University. David has been, actually this is his third Hall of Fame induction. Virginia State University Hall of Fame, also the State of Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, and now today. We're very proud of David. David's the kid who basically was a student athlete in Newburgh. He came from the south side, we call it the Heights. And David attended Virginia State College and became a student athlete. Also, he was the first academic team at Virginia State. As you know, those who know from the track world know that David McFadgen was the world champion, outdoor champion in triple jump in 1981, 82, and 83. Also, he was at Empire State Games standout with 18 gold medals, 11 in triple jump and 8 in the long jump. David McFadgen established himself at pin relays as a long jump champ and triple jump champ a couple of years ago when he was in college. Also, in 1984, David was ranked 4th in the world in the triple jump. A kid from Newburgh, a kid with a student athlete, a kid who went on to college to do great things. But do you really know Dave McFadgen? Do you really know Dave McFadgen? Do you really know Dave McFadgen? Dave McFadgen left college, became a math teacher in the state of Georgia, three years in a row, teacher of the year in math. Dave McFadgen was an outstanding high school track coach. Once he left his coaching career, he became an assistant principal at a middle school, and he's doing quite well. At this time, I'm not going to take up any more time. I asked a question. Do you really know Dave McFadgen? Yes, you do. At this time, honorary inductee, Mr. David McFadgen.
Yeah, right.
Good afternoon, everyone. How you doing? This is an honor, and I'm blessed to be standing before you, being inducted in the Hall of Fame. Coach Burks, your team, thank you so much for establishing the Hall of Fame. This is well overdue. I don't want to stand up here and talk about my accolades, I think most of you know. But what I want to do is talk about how I got here. I've had a long journey. Now, he spoke a little bit about it earlier. It started in 9th grade. He said, I can play basketball. I had a little vertical. This guy came to me and he said, I need you to go off a track. See, track to me then was run, and run. So I said I was doing a basketball court, I don't need to do that much run. I didn't understand the concept of track and field. So I said, yeah, I'll be out there. Never showed up. Next year, Came after me again. Never showed up. My junior year. Now, at this time, if you were a coach, this kid just doesn't want to do this. He didn't ask me this time. He pulled me off the basketball court, and he asked me to go out. So I said, let me go out and see what's going on. So first thing he did was took me to the high jump. I knocked down the bar purposely. I don't know if he knew that or not. So I think he knew that. So he said, okay, do this for me. You see that pit and that sand right there? Run down as fast as you can, jump as far as you can, I'll leave you alone. I said, okay, let me do this so this man can get off my back. So I did it, and there was some kids standing, other athletes, and they made this whoosh sound. I said, he's talking to the kids. He told the kids to make the sound when I jump. So they measured, and they said, you know, you're 9 inches from the school record. I said, come on, guys. I said, no, that can't be. So, but it was true. We looked at the board, and from that point, I said, let me try this. And the first meet, I got a second. And I was in the newspaper. I've never been in the newspaper in my life. So I said, let me try this, and the rest is history. But this guy went beyond just helping me in track, because I got a track scholarship, and I traveled the world, and I did all these things. Not only did I go to his undergraduate school, Virginia State University, graduated from the same school. Now, he's retired principal. Now I'm assistant principal, and it goes further than that. I have a son, David McFadgen Jr. He made a triple jump. So I was in the triple jump, so he got involved in triple jump, so he had a scholarship at A&T. So he's been so involved in my life, not just track and field, but just my life in general. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank him. And that person is Coach Jackson. And I tell him all the time, I know he's tired of me telling this story. I said, I'm going to tell this story until I can't tell it anymore, because I wouldn't be standing here if he wasn't persistent. I know a lot of coaches out here do the same thing. But again, Coach, thank you. You're so instrumental in my life, not only with my family, just everything around me. And I appreciate everything you've done. Everyone out here that supported me through the good and the bad, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
You either got it or you don't got it. They got it. Next, for purposes of our next Hall of Fame induction, I'd like to call out, you've already met him as one of our board of directors, longtime coach over at Warwick, and now coaching at Goshen. I'd like to bring up Rich Furst.
Good evening. I don't need that paper. I got it up here. It's okay. I can't follow those kinds of stories, but I can tell you about somebody that was inspirational to me. And this was a young curly-haired girl from the Mahal, which is New Paltz High School, and her name was Kim Ryan. And in 1982. We at Warwick, we had a pretty good team. We had some good runners. But in the cross-country Section 9 championship, there was this girl that was about 20 seconds, maybe 22 seconds in front of our best girl. And she became the Section 9 champion at Bear Mountain. We ran a time of 17:02. That time stood for almost for about 15 years, that time stood as our Section 9 record. And today, it's still in the top 10 times ever run by a Section 9 girl at Bear Mountain. She opened our eyes. Who is this girl? Later on, we were about to find out. Came the indoor meets. Kim ran a 5K in 17:47. She ran our Section 9 record at the time of 1,500 meters in 4:37.8. And perhaps her most prestigious accomplishment at the time was in the 3,000 meters. Kim, you see, was one of the best runners in the country. In fact, in 1983, she was the best 3,000-meter runner indoors in the United States of America. And Coach State and I went down to watch a meet in New York. Actually, it was in the Meadowlands. It was the U.S. Olympic Invitational meet, where athletes from all around the world, and some of the best elite athletes only from the United States were there. And in the 3,000 meters, against the world's best, was this curly-haired senior from New Paltz High School. And she ran an impressive race. She ran a 9:38.8 for 3,000 meters. And that was in 1983. And I am still waiting for somebody in Section 9, some girl in Section 9 to run fast for 3K. It hasn't been done yet this century. And so that, she has set the standard, and that's why we inducted her this evening. Kim then went on a full scholarship to the University of Oregon, which is known worldwide for their cross-country and for their track prowess. And she was, in 1983, that same year as a freshman, a member of the NCAA National Champions, which she relayed to me that that's really one of her proudest moments of her life. Kim did not make it up here. She's down in Florida. She went on to to earn a PhD in psychotherapy. She's involved in universities, and she could just not get up here. But the athletic director from New Paltz is here, and I'd like to ask him if he would please come up. Coach Greg Warren, would you please come up and accept this award for Kim? So we have Kim's award and a plaque to New Paltz High School to be hung, Coach, wherever you want to put it. Somewhere where kids can see it, because it's a real inspiration.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Our next presenter, I first came upon this young man when mid-70s, down at Suffolk High School. I knew him as a pole vaulter. When your last name is St. Lawrence, it's the family business, and that's what you do. Outstanding pole vaulter. Back in the day, Suffolk High School. Let's bring up Coach George St. Lawrence. Introduce Rich Beattie.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me well. I want to say that I'm very honored to be able to stand in front of you today. And I was thinking as I was listening to all the honorees so far, that we are very fortunate to be in this room on this day to be able to reflect upon the greatness both on the track and off the track. You know, we are all involved in the sport of humanity. Let us not forget that track and field roots go back to the beginning of mankind. And whether you're male or female, we're all bound by the same, how can I say, fraternity of competing not just against other people, but against ourselves for our own benefits. I'm very honored to be here to tell a little bit about the next inductee, Richard Beattie from Warwick High School. In 1981, I was a very young coach coming out of college, and God bless me. He gave me the opportunity to coach a young man who is 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million or one in a billion. You know, back when you talk about track and field, you often talk about the decathlete. And for many, many years, the decathlete champion was considered one of the greatest athletes in the world, if not the greatest athlete in the world. I was fortunate as a young coach to go to Warwick and have the opportunity to meet this young man. When he was 14 years old, in Nyack High School, he set a national age group record in the decathlon. Nobody had ever scored more points in the decathlon than Rich Beattie at 14 years of age. He repeated that feat when he was 15. He repeated that feat when he was 16. And I remember in 1984, in the Los Angeles Coliseum, when he was competing for the national championship against Dan O'Brien, Jason Novacek, in a great sport, and the event of the decathlon. How lucky I am to be associated with him. He's had great success. It's all written in the program. Please take a moment to read it. The success that he's given me is to realize as a coach how lucky I was. I sit at the table with him today, with his family. It's an accomplishment with his children, his wife, and his mother. And I reflect back 30 years ago. And this young man made an impression upon me and blessed me with his athletic ability. I'm truly honored not to talk about his records, but to talk and introduce him today. I will close with this. That 14-year-old kid ended up winning a national championship on a 4x1 team at the University of Alabama, where my brother went. That young man won a state championship in the 60-meter dash at the Carrier Dome as I sat next to my brother. And 5 minutes later, came over and picked up a pole vaulting pole, ran down the runway, and won a state championship in the pole vault the same year. But in all of his success, he remained a great teammate, humble, quiet, always willing to do the work, the hours that it took beyond, that nobody ever knows except the people in this room who are champions like he is. With that being said, I am truly honored to introduce Rich Beattie, Warwick Valley High School.
I didn't make a speech today, but first I'll start with thanking the friends and family of Section 9 for having me here today, as well as my parents, and most importantly, Tim and George St. Lawrence both for getting me involved. With that said, I won't hold it up anymore, but roll Tide.
Our next presenter, you've already met him earlier as the assistant superintendent in Valley Central, but back in the day, he was the successful track coach at Cornwall High School. And to introduce our next Hall of Famer, Marissa Maggio, let's get Mike Bellarosa back up here.
Thank you, Tom. I want to first, I don't know what the correct track term is for this, but I want to first recognize the organizing committee for this, to be able to sit here and exchange stories and be in a room with all these people. I got my high school coach here, my teammate, first athlete I ever coached that was a champion. As I said, I don't know what the correct track term is, but it's a home run, and you guys deserve a round of applause. Tremendous. So, just a quick story. We just read Rich Beattie as a decathlete. I remember Warwick Valley had an event that they would have traditionally the Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday after the county championship. And we get to these championship meets, and you bring your kids over to Warwick Valley High School for the pentathlon and the decathlon. And it was great because the kids got to meet each other, just like in this room. Kind of fraternity developed, like George Saint was talking about. And we'd get excited for this, and we went over one year. You know how the spring is. You get the weather report with the thunderstorms, and we're a little disappointed we're going to get this in or not. We see the black clouds closing in from every direction except this little blue patch of sky over the Warwick football field where the track is. And Timmy St. Lawrence, if you don't know him, a pretty positive guy, he says, I think it's going to miss us. So we're there, and sure enough, skies open up. Some people run for their cars, but we're stuck in a little pop-up tent on the football field. All the athletes. I look over, there's Timmy St., and he looks at me, makes eye contact, and he says, Coach Belrose, he says, isn't this great? And they're sideways rain, light. I'm pretty sure we're going to die. I'm not sure if it's going to be electrocution or drowning, but what I'm about ready to say, what could possibly be great about this? And he says, you and me, Coach, surrounded by the best athletes in Orange County, all of them champions. And that's kind of what tonight is. I mean, you know, and if you think about it, we talk about 32 years ago, some was longer. You know, being a champion back then meant jumping higher or running faster. And now we've been through all these life experiences, we realize it means so much more than that. And, you know, for that, you know, what a debt that we all have to track and field, because that's what that sport really means to us. So in 1987, I was blessed to be coach of Marissa Maggio. That was her senior year. She was a New York State champion, and in those days, it wasn't by school size. You ran in a race, and you were the champion of the state. You were the best person in the state, in your event, the second most populated state in the country. And in her event, she had very limited range, by the way. She was like the Goldilocks. Like 55 meters was 50 meters too short, 200 meters was 100 meters too long. And she ran 100. So she was going, you know, you had to be the fastest person in the state of New York if you won the 100 meters. And that was her event, that was her goal. But, you know, you think of Cornwall now, very successful track and field program, but we were just growing then. We were just starting. And Marissa was in 8th grade, and she came out for the team. And Marissa and the Cornwall program grew up together. And in 1987, you know, well, let's go back a few years before that, her sister, Jenny, came out for the team as a senior. First time, she said to me, I'm out for the team for 2 reasons. I made her the captain because she was a great kid. And she said 2 reasons. One is I think my sister's pretty good. I want her to, you know, not to lose interest. And the other is I want to quit smoking. So I figured, you know, I just smoke. So that's how we started, really. And Marissa really legitimized everything that we were doing by, you know, not just her talent, but the way she did everything. And kids came out, and it legitimized itself as a sport in the school, and it paved the way for everything that it is today. You know, in 1987, there was one banner in the gym that said New York State champion. And I mean one banner from any kid who ever went to Cornwall in any sport. No kid had ever won a state championship. But there was one from Marissa Maggio for the 100 meters. And, you know, as I introduce her, I think I'm going to just tell the story about what she did, because to me, to win that race was just pretty much sums up who she was and how she did it. So by the time she got to her senior year, she'd been second in the state 3 different times. You know, Coach Martin talked about the track. It's a dirt track at Cornwall, just like Valley Central had. We, when it rained, we trained on the elementary school playground. You know, we thought of everything we could do in the wintertime to be able to condition yourself, but she 3 times was the second fastest girl in New York State. So spring track comes around, and she's got the ultimate conflict. The prom and the track, state track championship on the exact same day, and you can't be in Baldwinsville and Cornwall at the same time. So, I don't know, I didn't want to put pressure on her. You know, it means a lot. I didn't want her last experience, she'd done so much for her program, to be disappointing. And I didn't want to say, you got to win the state championship. Of course, Coach White and Coach Delmonico and Coach Hall, and Coach Jessup, they're all saying, what's Maggio going to do? She's got to go for the state title. So she comes to me and she says, I'm not going to the prom. This is pretty big news in Cornwall. She was defending champ. She was homecoming queen, junior prom queen. She wasn't going to the senior prom. And they were talking about this. And it opened the door for some other kids, which is good. But Marissa trained, and we go to the Lough's games 3.5 weeks before the state championships. And my wife says, by the way, are you going to write something down? Yeah, I'll never forget this. I don't need to write it down. And she runs against this girl named Diane Atkins from Malvern Prep. And Diane had, in that meet, in the Lough's games, 3.5 weeks before the state championships, Diane Atkins beats her by at least 10 yards. I don't even think Marissa was second. I think she might have been third. And she looks at me and says, you better do something, because this girl's pretty good. I'm not doing it. So we go on through the rest of the season. We get to the state meet. We get to Baldwinsville, New York. And Friday night is the trials. And it's like today, rainy, a little damp. Marissa runs. Second fastest time. Diane Atkins runs. She's got the fastest time. Okay. Still not as fast as she ran in the last game, so we know she can go faster. And Marissa says, I said to her, how'd you feel? She says, I think I can go a little faster tomorrow. It's supposed to be warm. I like it when it's warm. I'm Italian. It's okay. So that's good. So what happens is the next day, sun comes out, 90 degrees, whatever the temperature was, and she's in the semifinals, and she's running against, not in the same race though. Diane Atkins, different race. All right, Diane already has the fastest time, so Marissa's got to run before her. She runs the semifinals, and right before it, she comes up to me, she goes, you got any advice? Now, I was a Division III 10,000 meter runner. I don't know anything about the 100 meters. I wasn't, so I said, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something creative. So I said, run as fast as you can. So she did, and she for the first time, she beat her. She had a faster time going in the finals. All it meant was Diane probably jogged at the end, but saving her strength. But she had lane 4 on the track. She was going to be the favorite in the finals. A couple hours later, the finals are coming around, and we're thinking, maybe this is possible, because it was pretty fast what she ran in that semifinal. So she comes up to me again, and I'm thinking, geez, I got to think of something more intelligent to say than what I just said. This is the big thing. The newspaper might ask her, what did Coach say to you? So she comes up to me and she says, something, and I'm nervous. I don't know how she feels, but I just didn't want this to end with a best athlete I ever coached upset about what happened. And she says, Coach, to tell you something, I want to break 12 seconds in the 100, and I think I can do it. I was only 12:04 in the semifinal. I think I can do it. And if she beats me, I'm okay with that. Doesn't matter if I can break 12 seconds. And it was easy, because I said, well, then just do that, because I don't think she can. And that's pretty much what happened. I mean, they ran, and sure enough, halfway through the race, by the way, she was losing. I had the video cam. I missed the whole race. I had the video camera, the cameras like in the back, and the picture came out and shaking and stuff. But at any rate, I hear the crowd react like in the fireworks of 4th of July, when they see those pretty ones, and they all go, ooh, and Marissa, I don't know how she did it. She traded places with her, basically. The girl was ahead of her. She switched spots. She broke 12 seconds. The girl didn't. Both of them ran their fastest times. And, so she was a state champion. But when I think back on it, I know exactly how she did it. And it's what this sport teaches us. What she did was she wasn't racing Diane Atkins in the final. She's racing herself. And that's what this is really all about. And when you talk about being a champion, that's what it is. You want to be a better person tomorrow than you are today. And Marissa, Coach Lou Hall said, taught athletes teach you something. That's what she taught me for sure. And Coach Martin, that's getting me involved. That's what this sport always taught every one of us, I think. And it's just I want to say to you, Marissa, everything good that's happened for Cornwall. I mean, I had the honor of being your modified coach, your high school coach, and even for a short time at Villanova, your college coach. But every good thing that's happened at Cornwall happened because of what you and your teammates did, and Just great job, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you 1987 New York State champion Marissa Maggio.
I think they want to take a picture. They'd like to take a picture.
Such an honor to be here, and this is just such a sweet event. I look around this room and I see coaches, officials, journalists, athletes, everyone that was so involved in track and field their whole lives, from way back that I can remember all the way through now. I want to thank the board for coming up with this idea that Section 9 deserves to have its own Hall of Fame, as we do. Thank you, Malcolm Burks, Kevin Stewart, Rich Furst, Mike Potter, Ken McMillan, Art Jessup, Frank Giannino, Wendy Warnock, Dave Goggins. Your enthusiasm, commitment is so appreciated and felt. I can't leave out Mary Onken, the best starter in the world ever, for her years of service and enthusiasm for the sport. We're going to miss you, but maybe we'll go visit you and me. I thank my mother, Dr. Helen Maggio, and my father, Joseph Maggio, for the years of carting me and teammates to and from competitions and practice. We really had to race sometimes to catch that bus, but we made it. I was a little girl who at age 6 dreamed about running in the Olympic Games. It just drove me from some of my first memories in life that I wanted to sprint in 100 meters. And I actually remember vividly thinking this as I was in the front yard at age 6, trying to catch clouds of black gnats in my mouth. And just thinking, if I can catch these bugs, I can sprint the 100. I also looked forward so much to field day in elementary school. I think the schools are a great place for offering facilities for all of us to have been able to train, but to come up with things like field day where little boys and girls can go and see what they're good at and just feel good about using their bodies. Thank you to my big sister Jennifer, who was my teammate at Cornwall Central High School and the best team captain that Cornwall track and field ever had. Mike has said that many a time. Thank you to Jennifer's husband, Mark, who was a high school and college athlete himself in football and continues to be involved in sport by training little boys in basketball and football, has done so for many years. So he's part of the brotherhood and sisterhood of being a coach. And thank you to Mark and Jen for raising 2 strong boys, Mark and Dean. And I have to thank my boys, Blake and Grant. Will Mark, Dean, Blake, and Grant all stand up? These strong young men are carrying on the tradition of sport in our family, and we cannot wait just to continue to enjoy all of their great success stories and endeavors in life. Thank you again to Mike Bellarosa. Without an excellent coach like Mike, I would have never even done anything in high school. I always said I was a tough athlete to coach because you had to know how to coach me. You couldn't just put me out on the track and expect great things. I needed someone who knew how to work with me. Mike did that, and many a times we'd look at each other and he would put together what I'd call very creative workouts, and we'd look at each other and say, well, let's see if this works. And I didn't mind being Mike's guinea pig because sometimes It didn't work out, but sometimes it was great, and neither one of us seemed to mind. It was just about improvement and being as good as you could. And we were able to accomplish that together. I want to thank my coach from the University of Texas at Austin, who then also coached me for about 10 years after college, who had still wanted to be here today, but unfortunately passed away 2 weeks ago. He would have loved to have come to have attended and met the Section 9 family that is assembled here today, to have thanked you for the young lady he met in college. He was able to take me to another level from that point forward, and enabled me to qualify not only for the U.S. team, but for the Italian national team multiple times, and extended my career into my early 30s so I could compete internationally. I was pleasantly surprised when Dave Goggins called me and told me that, congratulations, Marissa, on your 30th birthday. You have the Section 9 100-meter record that has not yet been broken. I can't wait to meet that young lady who does break it, because all records are made to be broken. Thank you.
All right, next we move on. And our presenter here is another guy I met way back in the day in the 70s as a pole vaulter and stuff, and used to hang out at the St. Lawrence house. I mean, back in the 60s and 70s, who the heck has a pole vault pit in the backyard? But the St. Lawrence is really a great time over there with Mama and Papa Saint, and so proud of what George has become. George is the highly successful coach at Monroe and Berry, and back in the day he coached our next Hall of Fame inductee. So I'd like to bring up George Glover.
As is usually the case, it's happened most of my life. And this will lead me to an interesting story. I got my first coaching job was as the head modified truck coach at Cornwall, Marissa Maggio senior year. And I remember going for the interview with Coach Bellarosa, and he was so excited because he thought George Glover was applying for the job from Monroe. He was coaching Monroe. But it turned out to be me, Jim Glover. And the rest, that's what I say, is history. I'm here to introduce Michelle Kercado from Monroe High School. As Coach Hall, in his speech, pointed out, there are athletes who are the first at accomplishing something. We had the girl who was the first in tennis. We had Dana Halpin, who was the first distance runner, cross-country runner, who kind of set the stage. Now, even into the 90s, girls were not on a parity with what the boys were able to do. I've known Michelle since she was in elementary school, and I remember seeing her at a physical fitness test banging out 26 pull-ups in a row, and all the boys' eyes got big, and I just remember in the back of my head saying, I wonder what that girl can do. She was allowed to pole vault. Well, she came out for track as a freshman. Coach Cauthers got a hold of her and started to develop her into a pole vaulter. And at that time, there was no girls pole vault event at all. It did not exist. We've occasionally let girls in Monroe try it for fun. We even had a school record at the time. I think it was maybe 7 feet. It was in our record book. Michelle was the first girl to come out to do the pole vault. So she was the first for Coach Cauthers, actually coaching a girl who had the physical attributes, the mental toughness, in order to become a successful pole vaulter. And it was a great 4 years. I think her first year pole vaulting, her best was maybe 7.5 feet. And Coach worked with her, and they developed a style of coaching. Coach Cauthers learning more about how to coach women, what they can do. And as she progressed through the years, her heights got higher and she got better. It says in the program right here, in 1997, Coach Cauthers initiated a lawsuit with the state of New York to get the girls to be able to pole vault. And they were successful. So in 1998, it was now a state championship event. So when you talk about first, Michelle Kercado was the first New York State champion in the pole vault, first state record holder in the pole vault, the first New Yorker to win a national championship in the pole vault. She was the first girl that we were able to teach how to pole vault and learn how to coach others. And because of those first things, if you want to extrapolate a little bit, other girls in New York State started to do the pole vault. Other coaches started to coach the pole vault. There's a guy up in the Rochester area who coached a girl to the state championship, Mary Saxer, 14 feet. He started coaching girls pole vault and he developed skills. Then he met a girl named Jen Sturzinski, who became the world champion, world record holder, and Olympian from New York State. So Michelle Kercado can say she was the first. Because of her, there's an outstanding history of pole vault in the state of New York. All because she wanted to try it, and Coach wanted to work with her, and it worked out well like that. So she's had a great impact on New York State, but she's also had a great impact on our team because Monroe has, since she's been here, has had a very strong and long history of putting out champion pole vaulters. And that's all due to her athletic ability, her desire. It's due to Coach Cauthers' willingness to work with her and to learn about her and work together to do that. And you really can't mention Michelle Kercado's accomplishments without talking about Hugh Cauthers, and it's definitely we'll be talking about that later. But it's my privilege to announce inductee Michelle Kercado.
My paper too. Thank you, Coach Loughney, for those kind words. I appreciate it. And thank you to our hosts for bringing together all of these amazing athletes throughout this room. It's so wonderful to see some old faces and see other athletes who have made so many strides in the sport throughout history. It's really humbling to be amongst this group. And thank you, of course, to our hosts at the Section 9 committee for pulling us all together. So when I received the email from Mike Potter a few months ago telling me that I had been nominated for this award, I actually thought it was spam at first. But once it settled in, and it stopped me in my tracks. You know, so often we get caught up in our day-to-day affairs that we forget to look back and reflect on the impact we've had on others throughout our lives. So in that moment of reflection, I was so overcome with gratitude. I was so overcome with gratitude because this award is not just for me. As Coach Glover said, as other coaches have said, there's so many other people who have supported me and guided me along the way. My family, my friends who've come from far to be here tonight. Of course, my coaches, Hugh Cauthers, Lou Hall, Jim Glover, my coach's family, who I know have taken Hugh away from them many times while he was traveling with me around the country. And then, of course, my teachers and my school district. You know, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to achieve all of my successes if it weren't for this collective family. I was just 16 when we won the Title IX lawsuit, which allowed girls to pole vault in New York State. I didn't yet understand the gravity of what that had really meant. So this award really is for all of the girls who never had to vault on the boys' team, and for all of the girls who were never told that after that they could not run in the girls' 4x100 meter relay with their friends. This award is for all the girls who now have access to pole vault clubs and state championships and the ability to break all of my old records, which they have far surpassed, and it's amazing. Girls pole vaulting has evolved so much further than I ever could have dreamed when I was 16. I feel so blessed to have been selected by some of the best coaches and the most influential coaches in this country. I might have been the first female pole vaulter in New York State, and I'm certainly not the last. I'm proud to be a part of this history, and I'm honored that Coach Cauthers and Coach St. Lawrence continue to remember my part in this legacy as they develop tomorrow's state and national champions. So thank you to the Friends of Section 9 Hall of Fame for remembering my legacy and for fulfilling my heart with so much gratitude for this honor. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call to the podium to present our next Hall of Famer, and that would be Elzie Coleman, and he will be introduced. You've already saw him as our president. Let's bring back up to the mic Malcolm Burks, head coach of NFA.
Nah. Okay. I was trying to write this down. How can I introduce this young man? And I figured, you know what? The best way to do it is by just coming off the top of your head. Instead of writing down and trying to remember and then forget it and stutter. No, we won't do that. So I'm just going to give it to you like I kind of lived it. All right? I was thinking, how you introduce somebody that was ranked 4th in the world when they were in high school? Someone that not only holds state records, sectional records, but also national records. He broke a national record that was over 20 years old in the 400-meter dash, and it's still held today. All the great runners, high school runners, it's still held today. He ran one of the fastest splits, 45-1, in high school history. Wow. It's an honor and it's a pleasure, me as a coach, to have a young man that will not only do the things I ask, but go beyond. Elzie Coleman was one of the first athletes that would call me on a Sunday and say, Coach, let's go to the hill. Elzie, it's Sunday. I'm not supposed to be coaching on a Sunday. They have rules. Right? Yeah, but coach, just give me an hour on the hill. Okay, L, I called him L, okay, let's go to the hill. And right before I hung up, he said, L, by the way, coach, don't forget to bring the weight vest. Down the hill we nicknamed Heart Attack. It was straight up like this. And he wanted to run the hill with a weight vest. Only one athlete that I ever had do that. Now, believe me, I've taken some athletes to the hill since, but they don't want to go back. Okay? So needless to say, on Sundays, I would turn my phone off. I wouldn't answer, because I need at least 1 day break. He was a young man that, when we go to track meets, we went to a track meet in Nebraska. 90 plus degrees. Why? I don't know. It's just hot. During the finals of the 400, he passed out. So being a concerned coach I am, we take him over to the medics. They take him, they ice him up, and they told me he's done for the day. Okay, Elzie, you're done for the day. Yeah, coach, we have to run a 4x4. Now, coaches that know about 4x4s know that normally athletes try to hide when it comes time to 4x4. So I told him, Elzie, you're not running 4x4. He says to me, Coach, I'm good. I'm like, Elzie, don't get me in trouble. You're not running 4x4. You just passed out. So I get an alternate together, and I send him off to go check in and go run. I'm in the stands. The race goes off. First leg, we're in the race. Second leg is close. Third leg, yeah, we look good. I'm thinking, okay, I got an alternate on anchor. It's a done deal, but we look good for 3 legs, though. It's a good race. And I look up, anchor leg, Elzie's on the track. I was like, what is he doing? What is he doing? After the race, I grabbed him up. Elzie, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you, Coach? They needed me, Coach. I wasn't gonna let him down. I mean, what do you do with a young man like that? Well, easy thing, let him run. Just let him run. Make sure you take care of him. Make sure you hydrate him. Make sure you keep him healthy. And you just let him run, and you let him have fun. And that's the relationship Elzie and I had. And the thing with Elzie that I admired the most, he was all about the team. He was all about the team. He has 6 national championships under his belt. This ring I wear now to this day is gold. You only receive this ring, you break a national title or a national time or distance. All right? All the other rings are silver. This is the only ring I've been wearing since 2004. I have a total of 10 rings. They give them for free, I had to buy them. That's how it is. All the coaches know that they have national rings, you have to buy them. So when I try to sum it up, how do I describe a young man like Elzie? He reminded me of a fictional character, a show that I used to watch as a kid. The show still comes on. They kind of renamed it. When I was a kid, it was called Superman. Anybody watched it? Come on, keep it real. You watched it, raise your hand. Okay, put your hand down. All right, now it's called The Man of Steel as well. All right, and in the 2013 filming, the writer Geoff, G-E-O-F-F, Johns had Loughney ask a question about the S on his chest, on Superman's chest. Anybody know what the S stands for? It's okay. No wrong answer. Anybody? Where was Superman from? That's my question. I give you a hint. Where was he from? Krypton. Very good. Good answer. It is a Krypton symbol for hope. It doesn't stand for Superman. It's a Krypton symbol for hope. That's why it's not a straight S. Oh, see, some of y'all saying, oh, right? So, with that being said, when I think of Superman, I think of one of my best athletes that I ever coached, and I've been coaching now for a total of 35 years, okay? And I can only relate him to that fictional character of Superman, because that symbol stood for hope. The set, we flipped it in Newburgh, and we put an N, all right? Instead of hope, we changed it to Newburgh, which meant never lose when we had LD. Because some of those have been around when you saw him run, and I would do it just to have fun. I would put 3 52s on the relay and anchor with a 45. So imagine how that race looked. We're losing. Wow, they won by 10 meters. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce a young man that not only holds state records, national records, but now is a family man and has 2 children that he's raising, Elzie Coleman.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm nervous, so bear with me. Bear with me.
Turn up.
Can you hear me? First, I want to just thank God for everything, because without Him, it's impossible. Second, I want to thank Coach Burks for putting up with me, because you know all the stuff we've been through. Thank you, Coach Burks. Second, I want to thank my mom and dad. Can y'all please stand up? Enjoy this moment with me. My fiance, stand up, please. I really don't have a speech, I was going to talk off the top of my head, because I've been through a lot. A couple years ago, I just got stabbed in the heart, and I'm still here. I got shot when I was running track. For y'all that know, Newburgh is a tough area to live in, but I'm still standing. It feels good for the Section 9 to finally recognize all my accomplishment, my hard work. Because I put a lot of time in, me and Coach Burks, not just me and my team. So, with all that said, I just want to thank God and just enjoy this moment with all of you. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call up to the podium our next presenter. You met him before. He was a charter member last year in the Section 9 Hall of Fame, as well as his bride, Missy, and the retired coach from Tri-Valley to introduce Ryan Loughney. This is Joe Ayatora.
I'm glad I was the right guy, because I was halfway up here. It was pretty dumb. Okay, it's my opportunity, and I don't go by the book either. We just go by the brain here. Like some of these guys, I have the opportunity and great pleasure to introduce Ryan Loughney, a little rinky-dink Tri-Valley School graduate back in 2007, and we were very fortunate to have him on the team. To say in any way that his accomplishments were due to this guy standing up here, or too many other people, would be a fallacy. Much is due to him. The guy is the only thrower. Oh, let me put it this way. He's one of the only guys that can associate with this induction here. He's a thrower. Rich Beattie over there, and all the coaches that are here. Maybe there's a couple throwers, but he's the only thrower of the evening, I think. Okay, good. So, Ryan, 2007. Number one thing I gotta give his parents, Mrs. over there, they're in the back table. I want to ask them to stand up. And Grandma and Grandpa, they're one of the most successful support groups that you could have. We're ahead of schedule, but I'm not going to take all the time. But there's Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, right there, Mom, these people are very special in regard, like Grandpa was a machinist. I believe he was a machinist. He made all these rigor mortis things for these throwers to use to take down to Monroe Woodbury on Sunday afternoon when they met with Palladino and Foldemeyer, and I don't know if Callan was there, all these great little throwers that we've had, but they coagulate on Sunday afternoon. No, not with Coach Ayatora, but with Coach Sully and Patty McGrath over there, the Irish guy, throws the hammer over the fence at West Point during Empire games, so we have to relocate the event because he broke the windshield of a car. So they definitely, the kids, Ryan had some great mentoring at that time. These coaches here, we didn't know the difference between a 3 or 4 turn spin. When Ryan went to the meet, he didn't look at the track and say, wow, that looks like a fast track. He went to the circle and said, wow, that's a fast circle. It's smooth. It's fast. So all those types of things are what the throwing group loved to do and moved us right on. So Ryan's accomplishments, you can read them in the book here. Yeah, Tri-Valley. He was a little All-American in the weight throw and the hammer. Went all over the place. Much much due to his mother. And in doing that, giving Mom credit, the only thing I did was drive the bus and try to get him there on time so he could go look at that circle and get ready for the event. And occasionally he would throw the shopping disc and do all that. When I bent his arm, well, you'll see the size of him, I really couldn't bend his arm. But he did all the throwing events with the weight and the hammer. And at that point in time, the weight and the hammer weren't part of the New York State order of events. Thanks. I don't know, am I thanking Mike over here? Who am I thanking? For the last couple of years, we've gotten it in the state meet finally, and those kids have a place that they can go compete at the state level. Most of the competitions were at the national level, and we got them there. Oh, again, Mom got them there. It was in the day when there were like 2 national championships. So on Saturdays she was at the Armory, and on Sundays maybe she was in Baltimore. And then finally the Nationals got their acts together and went to 1 national championship, but wherever Ryan could get a meet to get that kind of notoriety, he went to and had Mom backing him up there, getting him to it. Now, after high school, sure, he started us off. He got to go to a great place called Ashland University. Coach Judd Logan, an Olympian, who found a place? Mom. She found a place along with Ryan. Ryan, I want to give you all the credit, but we'll give you credit in a minute. Got to go to Ashland University, where he just turned it up to another notch. He was a national champion in the weight and in the hammer multiple times. Again, it's probably at least, Ryan might tell you, he probably won't, but probably 2 in a weight and 3 in a hammer, which was quite exceptional. But Ashland, like where Monroe Woodbury was a training site during the week, Ashland is a great place for throwers. Some of the coaches might know that. So, a quick story goes about Ryan is, the event was new. It was like 2007, but being the rinky-dink Tri-Valley, we would try anything to get notoriety. So we started throwing a hammer. And in our throwing cage, there were like power lines that went across the thing. So Ryan's got to be, like a pain in the neck because he's out there throwing 160, 170 when everybody else is throwing 125 and they're going under the wires. Well, Ryan gets in the circle during a meet and he throws and he's got a great throw and it wraps around both sets of wires. They come together and it was better than the July 4th celebration. It went all over the place. People on the track, well, they thought something bad happened because there was a big boom. That was a transformer, 1 of 3. That blew out that afternoon. Central Hudson was ready to come back and tell us something. They were going to shut down the school or whatever. So we had to make another facility. So we got the bulldozer out. Well, the maintenance guys got the bulldozer out. Maintenance guys put it in another cage. And Ryan started throwing. Well, the only place that Mr. Ryan and coaching staff had there was we had to go start cutting trees down. Because he started hitting the trees, leaving big pock marks. And okay, you don't want to kill trees, but he was on his way. So we had to go and cut the trees down so Ryan could throw his 200 feet and be that number 1 guy. So, is that good enough? All right. So Ryan, you can start walking up here, because it might take him a moment. He's a thrower. When we asked her, just one last thing. Coaches don't like to be told no. So all of us coaches, we probably have a weight man 4x1. This guy, he told me no. I didn't ask him a second time. That was it. He told me he didn't want to pull a hamstring yet, and we had a big meet the next week. So that was it. Introducing Ryan Loughney.
All right, so I'm going to make this short and fast. Just because, in my event too, it only takes 3 seconds. So, I just want to thank Mr. and Mrs. I for coming up. I want to thank my family, thank all my coaches, everybody that supported me on the way here. It's been a heck of a ride, and I'm just extremely humbled to be part of this, and I'm just honored. And I just want to say thank you. I want to congratulate everybody, and thank you once again.
Next, we move to a very special part of the program. All you've been hearing about is these wonderful athletes. Now we're going to have our next 3 inductees will all be coaches. And they are representative of all of the fine coaches in Section 9. I'd like to call up Stephanie Duffy, a former athlete at Washingtonville, that was an athlete for Hall of Fame coach Hugh Cauthers.
I'm only 5'1". Got my heels on today. All right, good afternoon. Today I have the pleasure of introducing the one and only Hugh Cauthers, the father to women's pole vault in New York State. Coach Cauthers is responsible for a lot of things, and one of them is starting a revolution in the pole vault, up and down the East Coast. After convincing New York State to allow women to pole vault, other states soon followed. In his 30-plus years of coaching, Coach Cauthers has perfected working with a variety of different jumpers: high jumpers, long jumpers, triple jumpers, and of course pole vaulters. He works with beginner vaulters, elite vaulters, men, and of course women. He's one of the most patient coaches that I know. I tease him often that he's already earned a spot in heaven for some of the athletes that he's had to put up with. Me. Coach Cauthers not only has an eye for talent, but he has a heart of gold. Coach Cauthers goes above and beyond to help athletes reach his full potential. Yes, that means he's strapping poles to the top of his car. Yes, this means he's spending all weekend at the track or at the barn. And yes, that means he drinks a lot of black coffee. Coach Cauthers can see potential in vaulters before they can even recognize it in themselves. When I first met Coach Cauthers, Lindsay Rosales, one of his other famous pole vaulters from Washingtonville, introduced us, and I was hesitant. I didn't want to pole vault because I didn't want to embarrass her. She was a state champion. That was a big deal. And I said, okay, great, Lindsay. She went off to East Carolina, and I said, oh, okay, I'll try this now, because if I stink, I won't embarrass her. And he took me right on. And he always gives opportunities to all of his athletes to compete, near and far. Sometimes that means hauling up to Rochester. Don't worry, it only takes him about 4 hours to get there. His car only has one speed, fast. He has been known for flying across the country, going to Golden West, the Pole Vault Summit, and sometimes even Pocatello, Idaho. Most of the times the poles do get there, and his car too, as long as we don't run out of gas. Coach Cauthers has an endless devotion to athletics. He inspires every athlete that he works with. He's had a number of state champions and All-Americans, but more importantly, he's helped hundreds of athletes move on to college athletics and leave lasting memories for many high school students at Monroe-Berry. Just a personal story of Coach Cauthers. Back in 2007, after the state meet ran a little bit longer, and we had to drive to the airport because we were flying out for the Golden West. We had booked our flight for that same day just a little later on, and we had to get to the airport. Things were running late. I think we just skipped out on awards and just took off. My parents were following behind us because they were going to take Coach Cauthers' car back to the airport when we flew back in to Newark. And my dad called and said, Stephanie, tell Coach Cauthers to slow down. I can't keep up. I said, Dad, he goes, this Honda can't go more than 95, Stephanie.
He has a lead foot, in case you didn't know. When we arrived at the airport, we were in a rush. We had to get in. Our flight was leaving momentarily. We got stopped at TSA. They found his bag, and they noticed that inside of his bag, he had a few spike wrenches, chalk, a few pairs of vice grips, and tape in about every color you can think of. And they were a little bit unhappy by his pocket knife. So Coach Cauthers insisted that he could remove the knife from the pocket knife so that he could take it, because of course it had a USB with all of the vault film on it. So he snapped it right off there on the security line and thought we could just proceed. They thought differently. So they promised us that they would be able to ship it off to our next location. So we waited at the airport when we got there. The bag of tricks did not make it. We still think that it somehow ended up somewhere. We joke that maybe some pole vaulter in Alaska might someday be using all those gadgets. But Coach Cauthers is always prepared, and he's always on time. He's truly touched my life in many ways, and I can't think of any coach that could do what he could do. He's left lasting impressions on so many vaulters and continues to inspire more each day in the flying circus. Thank you, Coach, for your continued support for Section 9. Please put your hands together for Coach Hugh Cauthers.
Sorry. I go back to 1996. At the beginning of every spring track season, we would go for a couple of days working with our athletes to get them into the routine of starting to get to know what they had to do to practice for all the various events. At the end of the first week, we normally had like 1 or 2 days where Coach Hall and Coach Wilson would tell me to take any of the kids that were coming up from the middle school and wanted to try to pole vault and take them over and see what we could do, see if they would be potential pole vaulters. Well, this particular year, we had a really outstanding athlete come over and start to do the workout, and that was Kercado. Kercado got so that she was able to not only compete with the boys in the event, but she was able to win very often. So we decided to take her to meet, and when we get to the meet, I would go and find the meet director and explain to him, I've got this young lady that wanted the ball. Typically, they would try to talk their way out of letting her ball at all. Ultimately, in many cases, we wound up having to put her in the meet as a boy. So we enter in the boys' competition. The downside of that, of course, was she's a very talented athlete. We lost her for the rest of the meet because she couldn't compete as a boy and as a girl. Well, as we went through the process, we decided we had to challenge the state as to why we weren't going to be able to let this girl ball. And we took it to court, and we had to prevail in the last lawsuit, as you heard earlier. And it was a very amazing experience because after we won the lawsuit and Michelle was able to get a couple of state titles out of her experience as a pole vaulter, the girls' pole vault all of a sudden became very popular. We had all kinds of girls now wanting to pole vault. Even today, we go to a big high school meet, and there are as many or more girls pole vaulting as there are boys. And it's really had a very, very exciting evolution of the pole vault. Along the way, I met Tim St. Lawrence. We would go over to West Point sometimes and train together. I would take my vaulters over to Warwick, and sometimes we would train together over there. And so we got to know each other's vaulters real well, and I got to deal with the man who I say has a PhD in positive. He can make anything seem like a positive experience. His dynamic personality helps to sell the enthusiasm to want to be out there pole vaulting. And we've been very blessed to have the experience of developing a little training center for pole vaulters. And now, instead of going to preliminary events to try to see if we can get somebody in a big meet, we now dominate the big meet. We go to a big meet now, and half or more of the competitors at that meet that make the finals are always ours. And it's really a very positive and a very exciting experience. So thank you very much for the recognition and for the honor.
Next, we'd like to introduce Mike White. He was an athlete under Coach Arnie Jessup, an assistant coach, and then he became his successor as the head coach at Washingtonville. Coach Mike White, come up.
Good afternoon. First, a couple things. First, I'd like to say I learned a couple things tonight. Knowing Lou Hall all those years, I never knew the word he used all the time was firecracker. I always thought there was something else he would use when it came to that. But again, thank you, Lou, for clearing that up for me. Coach Bella Rosa, thank you for that run as fast you can thing. I'm going to try that tomorrow against Warwick. Coach Ayatora, what kind of school district you from? The Rinky-Dink School District. We heard that before once? And I know David McFadgen now. I know him now. Thank you very much. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. When Coach Jessup asked me to be the one to introduce him on this occasion, I was grateful and, to be honest, a little bit worried. Grateful to have the opportunity to honor a man who has been instrumental in my life, both personally and professionally, but concerned that I won't be able to adequately convey the scope of his accomplishments. You know, track and field is a sport that relies on numbers. Every quarter of an inch or hundredth of a second matters on a medal podium or in the record book. Most coaches and athletes can talk about stats all day long, and I'm no different. Just ask my wife, Robin. But I'm not going to do that today. This says it all right here. Coach Jessup was inducted into New York State Hall of Fame in 2005. The supporting documents are here. I could stand here all day and talk about the county, Section 9 state and national champions that Coach J won. You actually met some of them earlier today, our 4x800 meter relay team. And Ben Fields right here. I can tell you about the Penn Relay champions, All-Americans, and even an Olympian that were coached by him, but I won't. If you're in this room, you know what it takes to receive this honor. So as much as I love statistics, I'm not going to list them for you. You can see them in a booklet. Coach J took Washington cross country and track and field, the program from absolute obscurity, and brought us to state and national recognition. His name came to exemplify the ideals of sportsmanship and competitiveness, and his reputation among his peers is one of excellence, integrity, and honor. His willingness to take leadership roles in the county and section helped lay the foundation for the excellent reputation Section 9 has in New York and beyond. You will not find a man more highly regarded in the running community than Art Jessup. He is living proof that winning doesn't have to mean sacrificing your integrity. I have worked with Coach Jay since returning to Washington as a teacher and coach in 1984. He has shaped my methods of coaching and encouraging student athletes by a strong example of leadership and motivation. Any successes I've had as a teacher and coach are largely due to what I've learned from Coach Jay, and the ripple effect of his influence is still felt in Washingtonville and beyond. As an adult, he's also been a great example of a husband and father, and the proudest grandfather you'll ever meet. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the contribution of Coach Jay's family. We all know the long hours and irregular schedule of a high school coach, and every one of us who has benefited from Coach Jay's career owes a debt of gratitude to his wife Judy, the sweetest woman who ever lived. Please stand up. And his son Todd, who's every bit the gentleman and scholar as his dad. The circumstances that shaped my relationship with Coach Jay goes back to the 70s, when he was my coach. When I met Coach Jay, I was a directionless young boy with raw talent and a stubborn streak. He saw potential in me that I never would have realized without him. He channeled my energy, guided my personal growth, and even helped me navigate the college selection process, something my family had no experience with. Most importantly, he provided something that was sorely missing from my life, a positive male role model. When I was a sophomore, I competed in my first indoor state meet at Cornell. I ran the race of my life and finished third. Coach Jay will never know the impact he had on this fatherless boy when he placed his arm around me and said, "Great job, son." He changed my life forever, and I will do anything for him. I can say without hesitation that I would not be a teacher, coach, or probably even a college graduate without Coach Jay's influence on my life. When you consider that only one of thousands of athletes in his long career, you have to wonder how many more similar stories can be told. As an adult, he's been a great example of a husband and father, and again, the proudest grandpa you'll ever meet. Ladies and gentlemen, for all these reasons and 1,000 more, it is my honor and privilege to introduce Coach Jay, our Jessup. Before Coach Jay takes the mic, there's something special, something we'd like to do for him. Rhonda Dimmy, will you please come up?
Mr. Jessup, you just don't know how special you are to me. I was a shot putter for Washingtonville, and he helped me. He coached me to 4th in the Eastern States in 1980. And you will always have a special place in my heart because you've taught me if I work hard enough, I can become anything I want to be. Thank you. And I'd like to sing this song for you. You're the wind beneath my wings. It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine, that's your way. You always walked a step behind.
with all the glory. You were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face without a name for so long. A beautiful smile to hide the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I would like to be. Well, I can fly high over an eagle, yeah. Well, you are the strength beneath my wings. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything, everything I wish I could be. Oh, and well, I can fly higher than an eagle. For you are the wind beneath my wings. You are the wind beneath my wings. Thank you.
You need that.
Wow. Well, I screwed up the whole night by making a big long speech the first time. And it's 6 o'clock already. Mike, are we going to get thrown out of here? Rich, we have the bill to pay on. Mike, thank you very much for your introduction. Appreciate it. I know I have a long speech, but I'm going to shorten it. I can't take any more than that. I know now for sure that I am mellowing in my old age. Originally, I was planning to go to the restroom while Mike was introducing me to change into my gym shorts, put on my Wizard coaching shirt, grab a hat, a whistle, a stopwatch, and come out whistling and screaming, "Pick up the pace." Then my wife, Judy, reminded me that this is a formal event. So here I am. First, I'd like to thank the committee for selecting me. I turned 75 in January, and this is actually my 53rd year of participating in Section 9. First, as a Monroe-Woodbury Crusader athlete. You can tell that to your son, John. Then coaching 37 years at Washingtonville. I'm trying to shorten this thing. And working as a SOCAT track official for the past 15 years. I am very honored and humbled by this selection, and thank the committee for accepting me. For 37 years I coached at Washingtonville, and I am here today to thank the coaches and the athletes for what you did for me. What an honor it is to be inducted along with Coach Tim St. Lawrence and Hugh Cauthers. It is also my distinction to have been able to coach against such legendary greats like St., Hugh, Lou Hall, Rich Michalski, Dave Fewer, Gene Martin, Tom Franklin, Dan Brown, Ken Gary, John Salvador, and many, many other coaches throughout Section 9. Just imagine those coaches at a cross-country meet running all over the course trying to inspire their runners. It was something to behold. Your extreme dedication for cross-country and track and field and your intense passion raised our section's level of competition and performance, and especially mine. I'll never forget that competition, true camaraderie, we had and our love for track and cross country. The stories we shared over the years will always be remembered, and some will never be repeated. Right, Lou? I believe we helped each other to hone our skills, share training programs, and make Section 9 cross country and track one of the best in New York State. For 20 years as Section 9 winter track coordinator, I still remember about the many feats our teams accomplished in state meets at Syracuse and Ithaca. To my athletes, a coach is only as good as his student athletes, and I was blessed with hundreds of outstanding ones. I would not be here today or in the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame without them. As coaches, watching you train each day and seeing you develop and improve as athletes and as students over your 4 years are something to behold. Seeing that smile after reaching a personal best was worth all the hard work and all the griping and complaining that we went through together to get you there. I think as coaches we have heard every imaginable excuse over the years, but we still pushed on. We persevered. Personally, to watch my teams develop a sense of camaraderie and team unity and be competitive as we were was a treat to watch. Those are some of my greatest, most memorable, cherished, and unforgettable years of my life. I'll skip this part. I'd like to express my appreciation and gratitude to Tony Martelli, a legendary soccer coach in New York State and my assistant for 30 years. To Mike White, a past athlete and now head coach at Washingtonville. And if anybody knows Facebook, Charlie Delmonico, legendary girls cross-country coach. He's at his granddaughter's track meet in Monmouth, New Jersey. The four of us cover 53 years of coaching at Watsonville, and we're still inseparable in our retirements. Lastly, I'd like to thank my family, especially my beautiful wife, Judy, for her love, her support, her encouragement, her guidance, and most of all, her sacrifices. You are my strength, my best friend, and closest confidant, and the love of my life. And I know these coaches and officials know you're the best cookie maker in Orange County. To my son Todd for putting up with me, I am very, very proud of him. Becoming the son that he has, I still regret not being there more during a lot of your high school days. To my grandchildren, Sydney and Zachary, for letting Poppy, the old teacher coach, be part of their academic and athletic development. My days of beating you in tennis and golf are numbered. And to my daughter-in-law, Stacy, for letting Judy and I help in the growth of our grandkids. In closing, I read somewhere that there are three groups of people in life. Those who watch what happened, those that wonder what happened, and those that make things happen. Let us all make things happen. I am very honored and humbled to be a Section 9 Hall of Fame, and thanks to the committee for this swing. Thank you, and God bless. Go Wizards!
I think Rhonda's song epitomized relationship between a coach and an athlete. That was great stuff. And I do believe, where's Rhonda? I do believe you're still the record holder up in Washington. Yes, she is, and the shotgun. Good stuff. Not too bad a singer, I might add. Next, we move on. Another great situation where a former athlete and then a coach, assistant coach, and now the head coach, This is Mike Potter, who put this whole dinner together with his fine committee. He's going to introduce Timmy the Saint. Let's bring up Mike Potter.
All right, thanks to Roder, the last 2 minutes I spent scribbling and writing a speech because I had originally planned to sing my speech with chariots of fire playing in the background, but that is just out the window, so I'm going to have to kind of go on a fly here. Go back to about 1987, I'm in 3rd grade. I just moved to Warwick, New York. I want to try and make some friends, so my mom brings me down to the track, and I join a fall track series. They're running track races on Sunday mornings. I tried to make some friends. Well, long story short, that didn't happen because I had to buy my whole table today. I still don't have any friends. But I went home that day, and I said to my mom and dad, I said, I just met this guy. I want to do what he does. What's he do? I don't know. He was just clapping, yelling, screaming, doing flips, cartwheels, and did a handstand down the entire back of the track. He's having fun. I want to do what he does when he grows up. You want to be a teacher and a coach? Sounds about right. That's what I want to do. So, Coach Saint, I'm going to ask you to please stand up here for about 1 minute while I roast you, and then I'll go back to saying good stuff about you. So, you have to stand up. You have to stand for this. Most of you in this room know Coach St. Lawrence. Some of you may not, but if you don't, even if you do, you'll find this funny still yet. I want you to take a look at Coach Saint right now and picture this. You go from that 3rd grader in 1987 to the guy you want to be when you grow up to a 22-year-old first-year teacher. You're his assistant coach, okay? You're sharing a hotel room with the guy that you always wanted to be like growing up. You have a wake-up call in your hotel at 8 a.m. Well, at 5 a.m., you turn your head, you hear this ruckus, and he's in his tighty whities, jumping up and down like this. But it's going to be a great day. All right, Coach, you're good. I said, Saint, the wake-up call's 8 o'clock. It's not going to be a great day. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I know, but I stole all the cookies from the lobby, and we have 3 hours to eat them. So, Coach Saint, you carried yourself with character in class, always lifted people up, and you had a tremendous spirit. You still do to this day. You always created an atmosphere of energy, motivation, and sportsmanship. You have a personality, Coach, that draws people to you. And if you spend 30 seconds with Coach Saint, you walk away like you just hit a tornado, you don't know what happened, but you say, who was that guy? And that's the guy you want to spend more time with, and that's Coach Saint. Coach Saint taught us, as athletes, coaches, that it's not about how much you know about sport. It's about how much you care. And to illustrate that point, we have his brother George in this room, and now you rewind to my time as a 3rd grader, to my time as a 22-year-old, and you go to 1994, I'm a sophomore in high school. It's a Thursday evening, it's the night before the county championship in cross country at Bear Mountain. And we get a phone call from one of our captains, Ryan Warner, and we had just found out that George and Tim's father, Joe, had just passed away. And we got on the horn with Coach Saint. We said, Coach, be with your family tomorrow. They need you. Coach Pat Farrell was our modified coach at the time. We're going to be good. We're ranked 12th in the country. Monroe Woodbury, Coach Hall's team is ranked 8th. We'll do the best we can against them. Well, we always met in the music room before we boarded the bus in the middle school. And Coach Saint would give his speech. Well, he got there before we did. We weren't expecting to see him, but we walked in that room the day after his father passed away. The football team rallied together. We had JSL initials on the football jerseys and on the cross-country jerseys. And we couldn't believe, we walked in that room, we saw Coach Saint sitting on a chair, ready to give us a speech. Okay? Now you're 14 years old, you're 15 years old. You said, Coach, what are you doing here? We told you to be with your family. And he looked at us and said, you guys are part of my family too. And this is where my father would want me to be. So for those reasons and moments like that, Coach Saint got athletes to embrace pain and not fear it. It was all about reaching levels you never thought were humanly possible. He ingrained a work ethic on the track that was related and relevant to everything we do in life, which so many of you have talked about already this evening. He taught us to dream big. He had a pole vault pit in his backyard in Suffolk, New York, which we talked about earlier already today. He backed the track, built the track in Warwick. There used to be a cinder track that used to run on stones. He lighted the lights in Warwick, $100,000, $150,000 project. Him and his brother took out 3 mortgages, and they probably still owe the money back for those lights at the Warwick track. And then one day, in 2004, Coach Saint said to me, Coach, I gotta take you over to this barn. We're gonna build a pole vault barn. Okay. We go upstairs, over dead pigs, feces, snakes. I don't do snakes. We go upstairs, it's dark. He's got a little flashlight. He goes, this is gonna be the pole vault barn. No, it's not. See, this is like a miserable place. About 6 months later, Coach Cauthers, Coach Saint, they built the pole vault barn, which is world famous today. So there was never any dream that you had that was too big. Coach Saint always put his words into action, and you wanted to reflect that in everything you did. There's not a stat in this speech, because stats mean very little, as we had a number of us say earlier. Okay? Coach Saint, I don't think there's any better way to induct you into the Hall of Fame, but to thank you from all of us in Section 9, Orange County, New York State, and beyond. You've all made us feel special. Thank you for putting a smile on everybody's face, and thank you for always making everybody's day just a little bit better. Thank you for being the face of track and field and pole vault for so many years. Because of you, we are all in a better spot, and we are all better people. Not because we just pictured you in your underwear, but because of all your love and energy. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome and proudly induct Coach Tim St. Lawrence to the Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame.
This is like a reality show. You can make money with this every week. I want to thank Coach Potter for those beautiful words. He was a 5-time state champion at Warwick Valley and half miler, and did some incredible things. But when I first met Mike, it was in the 5th grade, not the 3rd, and I wear boxer shorts. I'll keep this up. In the 5th grade, we had this field day, and I was teaching with John Russo. And we had a mile run for 5th grade boys. It's the only way I could keep up with some of these other coaches. Potter come tooling around that track and ran 5:01 in a mile run. And he set the stage at that point, a 5th grader. Now he was a hotshot basketball player. And he was a great baseball player. He was a hometown hero in Warwick. He was the Derek Jeter of that Little League baseball team of his. And he was LeBron James on the bed. After I saw him run at 5:01, faster than one of my seventh men on my cross-country team on the varsity, I said, I must recruit that boy. And I got him right off the basketball court, but coach didn't like it, basketball coach. And to this day, he's one of the finest young coaches in this country. All right, because of the time limit, they're making me stay to the speech. I had 27 stories ready to tell. But I don't want to get the hook. All right. Thank you, Coach Potter, for the great words. And wow, this is firepower here tonight in this room with athletes, coaches, at this track and field gala we call Friends of Section 9. I represent Warwick Valley Central Schools tonight. Special thanks go out to Chairman Malcolm Burks and the Friends Committee for promoting the spirit of track and field excellence in perhaps the strongest and deepest track and field section in New York State. Track and field tradition lives right here in our section. It's a joy to be with this close-knit group of champions to celebrate and promote friendship in our sport. I'd like to share this award tonight with you and every other track and field athlete, coach, sports writer, official, and track and field parents and administrators in our great section. Welcome to Paradise and the SoCat officials track and field territory. Now I'd like to introduce my wife, my family first, my wife and high school sweetheart, and my head coach. Any man who says he is the king of his own household will lie about other things. I want to thank Alice for an unbelievable support of my craziness for the past 46 years. She taught me all about compassion and kept me on the straight and narrow. My two sons, Tim and Mike, who always made me proud and taught me about humility. My brothers, Joe and Chris and George, who taught me about the wonderful joys of sharing with each other. To my father and mother, Joe and Marguerite Singh, who taught me about the values and joys of giving to others. I want to clear up a myth that's been running around this room for a long time. Many people said I was not the sharpest knife in the box. That's right. They said my low scores were a hindrance. So they tapped right into my non-academic success. Well, I'm going to set the record straight tonight. I crammed those 4 years at Alabama into 6. Oh yes, I didn't want to leave. I did not want to leave Alabama. And my father and mother's dream was not that I would be a great coach, is that someday I'd be on the dean's list. Because they knew how hard that would be for me. Well, in my 6th year upon graduation in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I called my father and mother and gave them the good news. I said, Dad, Mom, be proud. I
have a 4.0 here at Alabama. They said, Tim, we are so proud of you. After 6 years there, I said, Dad, I found the library. It's on campus, and I love going there once a week. Well, they were proud. They said we're going to have a celebration when I got home. I got a little cake with 4 candles on it, representing that 4.0. I said, beautiful. And as I was hanging up the phone, my father and mother, I think they were in tears. They said, how'd you do it? I said, Dad, 2.0 the first semester, 2.0. And now I work with the pole blowers. I'm an assistant coach at Warwick Valley. And these pole blowers are smarter than me, and I know it. Thompson and Sorensen and Becker and all those guys are smarter than me, but they take it easy. They take it easy on me. And they're gentle with me, because they're twice as smart as I was. All right. The clearing up that rumor about my academic non-success. I too was blessed with great high school coaches growing up in Suffolk, New York, which was part of Section 9 at that time. My dad, Joe St. Lawrence, was my first high school coach who taught me everything about the great sport and how to teach and coach young students in a positive manner. My college coach was John Mitchell, world famous pole vault coach at Alabama, and he taught me about the rhythms of teamwork and the values of sportsmanship. The team concept theme took over at Warwick Valley. My club coach was Jim Rafferty, a fiery little Irishman at the New York Athletic Club in New York City. And he taught me about the value of everyone counts. Not just the superstars, but everyone has a world record they're trying for. And he also never gave up on anyone. I was fortunate to have great coaching staff at Warwick Valley Central and great administrative help in my 35 years there. Our program was built on the dual meet. We did not care about the invitational meet and not so much about the OCL meet. We wanted those 71 points in dual meets to win by 1. So my brother and I built the program on dual meets. Therefore, I had to coach all 15 events. So we had a solid team and not just a few special events. Ash Morgan hired me as athletic director in 1974. It was my first job, and a job I never ever wanted to go anywhere else. My superintendent of schools that supported me and nurtured me was Dr. Joe Natal. All those years. And let's see here. It's the only, okay. And my best buddy, John Russo, guided me through critical decisions in my years at Warwick. My track staff included the Iron Men and Iron Women in purple, a staff like no other. Co-head coach George St. Lawrence taught with me side by side for 18 years and handled the sprints, decathlon, and 4x4. He introduced critical zone training, which he learned out of Manhattan College under the one and only Freddie Dwyer. Mike Potter handled the 800-meter men and women, and he brought them to national prominence. Rich Furst was the guru think tank. Yes, he had the highest SAT score of any of us. So he was in charge. race strategy and race preparation. He put some stuff together that I can't even believe in cross country. That time we had to go against John Troutman when he was a freshman. Louis Hall brought that John Troutman up to Bear Mountain. And Rich Furst had devised a plan to try to knock off this superstar, setting all kinds of national records. Now I can't tell you the plan because I'm bound, but we tried to tie him up a little bit that year with some surge running or something. I don't know, he had it all mapped out. We trained 6 weeks for that one day. And they got us every time after that, though. He readjusted. Coach Joan Rucker and Dave Papenbrook handled the middle school development program. Greg Sirico brought spirit and energy from the football field to the track as our assistant. Frank Bojo handled the Too Legit to Quit program that he instituted for cross country. Curtis Akaki produces the major jump events. Wendy Trone Warnock presented the gentle style of confidence building. Ron Interwees developed the great hurdler champions. Coach Thomas, Coach Pennings kept the program going. Yes, I was blessed with awesome human beings at my side. My coaching colleagues and mentors were true ambassadors of athletics. I wanted to be Lou Hall. After I copied his style, I wanted to be Art Jessup. And then I wanted to be Dick Wilson and Joe Messiator and Hugh Cauthers. And then I went through a period I wanted to be Mike White, and then Charlie Delmonico. And then George Klein and Malcolm Burks and Mike Potter. I didn't want to be Mike Potter, and I'm older. I always wanted to be George Saint. And then Tony Martelli came on. I wanted to be Tony. I wanted to carry the clipboard like Tony. I wanted to be Kevin Hissman and Jimmy Glover, Kenny Carey and John DeBola and Stephanie Duffy. I wanted to have her enthusiasm. And then John Salvatore over the Bush. I wanted to be like him, and then Wayne Beam, and then it was Carlton Kroll at West Point. And Dan and Tommy Doherty, that brother combination we couldn't crack, so I wanted to be like them. And there was Ralph Coleman and Rich Michalski, and all the others in our grade section. I also rode the coattails of the most supportive track and field and cross-country parent group on the planet. They carried me on their shoulders for 35 years, and for the last 15 years at Flying Circus. Larges, the Perriettes, the Majewskis, the DeBonas, the Trones, the Aherns, the Sorensens, the Leahys, the Potters, the Papenroffs, the Knapps, the Dilts, the Stevens, the Thompsons. They all supported me in unbelievable ways. But the bottom line was always about the athlete in purple. You know that, I know that. The coach never scores a point. It's the athletes that count. The man in the fire and the woman in the fire, who made me and our staff look much better than we really were. Our athletes taught us so many great lessons: motivation, loyalty, dedication, spirit, sportsmanship, and teamwork. And that a person with big dreams is more important than a person with all the facts. There were 7,000 plus boys and girls that I was privileged to coach. They had full spirit. They put us on the map along with the other teams in Section 9. I want to thank you for raising me up, and I share this award tonight with everyone. I want to leave you this one thought. Lou Holtz, that famous football coach at Notre Dame. And we never beat Notre Dame, Alabama. We lost to them 3 times. But here's what Lou Holtz thinks about happiness. If you want to be happy for an hour, eat a steak. If you want to be happy for a day, play golf. If you want to be happy for a week, take a cruise. If you want to be happy for a month, buy a new car. If you want to be happy for a year, win the lotto. If you want to be happy for a lifetime, teach and coach young kids track and field in the one and only Section 9. Hip hip! Hooray!
Hey gang, you've seen us giving out something a little extra besides the awards that our inductees got. So I'd like to call up Athletic Director Greg Ferrigno from Warwick, and let me tell you what this will go to the schools. For instance, this is the Warwick one, and it has on it last year's inductee, Ashley Ryan, tonight's inductees, Rich Beattie, and Timmy the Saint, and we hope these will be motivations for current athletes to look at these people and say, hey, I want to be in this Hall of Fame. So, Greg, put this in a great spot in the school. All right, again, here's the deal. We heard from the athletes, we heard from the coaches, but think about this. They need a venue to show their greatness, and unless we don't have officials, we cannot run a meet. And our last inductee tonight, certainly not least for the vital role that they play in track and field, I'd like to call up now Eli Kasinovich, retired Southern Catskill official, who's going to introduce Jim Wolfe.
Thank you. No one told me I was going to follow Tim St. Lawrence. Wow. Timmy, you're unbelievable. But you're the best. We're here to recognize Joe Wolfe, who is one of the deans of officials in Section 9. And when you say Ulster, Sullivan County especially, you're talking about the dean. You're talking 53 years as an official, which 53 years of anything is a lot. Joe was born and raised in New York City. He ran track at Xavier High School, and then he matriculated to Notre Dame, where he competed as a freshman and was injured, and of course didn't want to leave the sport because he loved the sport. And he went to the great coach Alex Wilson and said, can I help you out? And the coach accepted him as an unpaid volunteer, and I'm sure Joe trotted alongside of him every day, learning. Because he returned to New York City, and fortunately, Cardinal Spellman High School was bringing in a junior and a senior class for the first time of boys. And they were looking for a coach, and Joe was in the right place at the right time and developed a program that eventually became the excellence in New York City of boys track and field. The team grew to 115 boys, and of course, for those of you who have been to New York City, the Armory was home, and New York City ran its big meets at Madison Square Garden, which is where Joe became an official. Because many moons now, and Joe has been officiating 53 years, he didn't have the number of officials we have now. There weren't 30 people at a big meet to cover everything. So people helped out, and Joe became, let me make sure I'm doing this correctly. Joe helped out,
Okay. He was the I don't know. Whatever it was, he did it very well because Joe's never done anything before. He did it just as well as Timmy would. But Joe then, in 1964, became an official and took a job upstate in Utica for a brief period. Eventually landed on his feet at Ellenville High School, where he became the principal and the track coach, where he had a track coach and official. And if you've ever, at that time, if you remember, we didn't have big facilities in Middletown and Monroe Woodbury. A lot of the meets were run in Kingston. That was home. That was Ulster County. That was Joe's home. That's where Joe ruled, and that's where Joe was boss there. And in get my notes here. Anyhow, the idea for me is to introduce Joe and keep this short. When it comes to, I'm not a Timmy St. Lawrence. I'll tell you. I don't do this like Timmy St. Lawrence, but I know pretty girls. Anyhow, I'm here to introduce Joe, and I know you all know Joe because if you worked track and field or visited and watched the athletes perform on any big stage, you saw Joe Wolfe work and probably didn't know he was there because if you're a good official, they don't know you're there. You've done your job very well and no one knows you're there. So without further ado, let me introduce my friend, Joe Wolfe.
Picture first? All right. Thank you. Wow. I will be short, 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 I will be short. I used to be 6'1½". I'm 2 inches shorter. I'm of Irish background. I talk longer than Eli. I don't think I could beat Tim, though. That would be tough. That would be tough. Let me go back to the script, or I will be short. First of all, thank you. I thank the committee. I thank the hall. I thank... It's unbelievable. If you applaud, it's going to be longer. It was 3 days. Dave called me up in January. It took me 3 days to get off cloud 9. I'm now on 8. Eli, thank you very much. God bless you. The person I most have to thank is my wife, Fran. She's been the mainstay, the love of my life. Thank you, Fran. Everybody has important things in their life. Right now, mine is to be short, but that's beside the point. I have the top 3 things in my life: my relationship with the Almighty, my family in the extended sense, and track and field. Track and field, more important than your job? More important than this? Yes, and I'm going to tell you why. When you get into track and field, whether you run, jump, or throw, I don't care what it is, you get out there and you compete. You can't blame the basketball guard for not passing the ball. You can't blame the line for not blocking well enough so you get yardage. It's on you. If you succeed, fine. You can give credit to your coaches, you can give credit to your teammates, you can give credit to a lot of people. But succeeding in track and field is not the easiest thing to do. I'm thinking of Roger Bannister, who passed away 2 months ago. He's the first man to break the 4-minute mile. How many times did Roger Bannister break the 4-minute mile? Twice. I think they were in the same month, by the way. Before that, he goes to Helsinki in the Olympics, comes in 4th, very discouraged. He goes to Scotland, he runs the hills in Scotland, he goes to Wales, climbs the mountain. I understand they're difficult. Goes back to merry old England, puts on a breathing machine, gets on a treadmill, and worked like a dog, and broke the 4-minute mile. He did it once more and then retired. Roger Bannister will not be remembered for breaking the 4-minute mile as much as he will be remembered for why the Queen of England knighted him. He is one of the top research, I think, was neurologists in the world. The work he did in neurology is in the history books and will stay there for a long time. How the heck do you do that? Hard work, toil, sweat. Where did he learn it? Well, I don't know. I didn't know him personally, but I'll bet he learned a lot of it in track and field. Running on those treadmills, I saw pictures of it. Not for me. That's hard work. Officiating is a lot easier. The coaching's more fun too. Track and field is nothing more than preparation for life. You have to learn to discipline yourself. You have to learn to have your mind control your body. You have to learn to go to practice. You have to learn to eat the right food, do the right thing, listen to the right people, not listen to the wrong people, and then apply it. And if you fail, now you can succeed. I will guarantee most people who are world champions, with the exception maybe of Edwin Moses, lost more races than they won. So when you lose, now you can improve. You don't have to win every race. You have to do as well as you can. That's why I think track and field is so important. It has made me a better man, a better spouse, a better parent, a better everything. I don't know how well that came out, but without it, I wouldn't have been as good. 2 more things. And here's an official that's true. I've seen and worked with officials in New York City, Long Island, Western New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Jersey, and now South Carolina. I have never seen officials in Madison Square Garden or anywhere else like the officials in these 4 counties: Rockland, Ulster, Sullivan.
Who?
Oh yeah, they're too. I forgot about them. Yeah. I lived near that county when I was here. They were, and probably still are, the best working officials I've ever seen. When you become an official there, and you're not so great, fine. You work at it, in 3 years you're fine. If not, you'll quit and go to volleyball and make more money. Last thing I have to say is, when Dave called me, this is out of the blue. I couldn't get over it. I said, what am I going to say? He said, well, you know, after the meets, when the officials might go out to dinner, and maybe there'd be some singing, we'd sing the Irish national anthem if it was the Monticello games. Otherwise, I'd get a chance to bore everybody with Danny Boy. So he said, why don't you get up there, say thank you, sing Danny Boy, and sit down. Thank you. Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the leaves are falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so.